Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Hope you're having a great day as we continue to celebrate so many amazing people across the great state of Mississippi who are working in the trenches to make this such a wonderful place to live, work, and play. Listen, I have a new column up at SuperTalk.fm about coastal Mississippi and our economic development future. It's entitled, Coastal Mississippi's Big Moment is Here. Let's Seize the Moment Together. Listen, I'm going to continue to write about it because I think there's a tremendous opportunity for us as we go forward. And one of the things I note in the column is that it took until 2020 for us to reach pre-Katrina employment peak, the jobs peak. That's 17 years. So, now that we've actually, I would say, fully recovered from Hurricane Katrina, I think it's time for us to shift the gears and start to dream bigger. And this column is about that. So you can go to supertalk.fm and take a look at it. Also, in the second half of the show today, we're going to have the second installment of our new feature, Singing River Health Talk, that is powered by Singing River Health System. I've said this last week, but Singing River is really the real deal. They've been a real supporter of this show from day one, and I've been in their corner each step of the way. I often say they're not just a health system, they're a community leader. Their name comes up often in conversations that we're involved with as they continue to offer their leadership to the community. I call them a community heavyweight. So I'm excited about this new feature that's going to be providing a lot of great health advice to people, to all of us, including me, about how to live healthier lives. We're going to have health professionals each week who are going to help us zero in on how we can improve things in our life. And today's show is going to be focused on all things about weight loss. So I'm looking forward to that conversation coming up in the second half. So in the first half, I'm thrilled to have my friend Austin Golding from Golding Barge Line back with us today. He's been a regular on the show. It's been a while since he and I have chatted, but I look forward to catching up with you. Austin, how you been, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back, Ricky. Great to always be here and talk with you.
Yeah, you too, my friend. How's life up on the Mississippi River these days?
Well, we've had a really healthy river with some nice high but not too high water the last few months, and we're starting to see it fall back now and should fall out just enough that when the spring rise comes here in the next few weeks, it's not going to compound anything. So we should have a pretty healthy river compared to the last 2 years where we've had a lot of low water.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was the president of NOLA Media Group in Louisiana, in New Orleans, from my office, I could see the Mississippi River. And, I could see those high moments and low moments. Of course, to me, it was just fascination. To you, it's life. So when you look out the window, I bet you have a sense, when things are going well, you have a sense when you look at the river that, oh, wow, I like it that way. But when it's not the way that you like it, I bet it creates stress for you to look out the window.
Well, it does. I mean, when it's high and it's out of its banks, and you can see how fast it's moving, that any kind of southbound transit's going to be tough and northbound transit's going to be expensive. When it's really low, obviously, danger could be anywhere, and you run aground in bends and shallow spots, and getting on and off dock is difficult. Kind of one of the hidden challenges of anybody that makes a living on the river or lives near the river. When high water comes, so does the drift. And because we had not had much high water the last couple of years, the drift this year was unbelievable. I mean, we probably had 6 or 7 incidents where the propellers and the rudders on the boats got completely jammed with trees and debris. And so when you see it coming down the river and there's a literal forest floating in the river in front of you where it's all been picked up from the last 2 years, it's pretty treacherous environment. So, yeah, it's interesting. Right now, looking out the window now, it's high, but there's no drift. We've gotten a lot of the drift out of the way. It's on its way down. So the water comes back up. It always finds a way to find more trees and more obstacles. But, it certainly is a cyclical deal. But we'll take generally, if we're going to pick high or low, high water's an easier thing to operate in.
Hey, it's probably a little bit, I'm thinking, as you're talking, I'm thinking about when we have storms, tropical storms, hurricanes here on the coast. If there's a long period of time before we've been hit, let's say it's been 2 or 3 years since we've got a really good storm surge of any significance. What happens is the debris and whatever sort of gathers in the marshes, and then when you have this high water event, suddenly all that stuff that's been kind of being saved up for years suddenly gets unleashed. Is that the same thing on the river?
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the floodplain, for the lower Mississippi River and all its tributaries is enormous. So when you look at how much water actually comes on the bank and starts picking stuff up, and how many acres of land that clears, it's nature. It's nature doing its job. That's the way it's always worked for millennia. So we're the ones that are invading, the process and trying to do our job. So there is no overcoming it. It's just surviving in it.
Hey, so Austin, for people who have not heard us talk before, I actually we'll shift gears because you and I have spent a lot of time talking about energy policy.
Right.
And I want to go have that conversation. But before we do that, remind people what your company does.
Sure. So we operate towboats and own tank barges. And we also have towboats that push barges that move rock and paving material for a Southern Mississippi company within your platform's footprint, Warren Paving Company. And so I'd say 80 to 90% of our business is moving oil and gas. A third of that is up the Mississippi River. Another third of that part of our business is on the west end of the ICW, so between New Orleans and Brownsville, Texas. And then we have 8 to 10 tows out of our 33 that run on the East Coast. So run from New Orleans all the way to Panama City, Florida. And, all of those tows are either rock or oil and gas. So we're moving whatever the roads are being paved with, and we're moving the fuel that powers, diesel and gasoline primarily, but also a lot of jet fuel, especially over there in the Florida Panhandle along the Gulf Coast. So in energy and a rock transporter, people pay us for our time. We're like Uber. So we don't actually buy the products or own any of the products we're moving. They just pay us for our time and service.
Well, Austin, you and I have had a lot of conversations about the global aspect of energy markets. We can do a lot in America to change sort of the lay of the land going forward, but it's still a global market, and it operates like a global market. As you sort of look at things, and by the way, I should also point out one of the things that you and I have talked about is that in America, in the prior administration, we were headed in the wrong direction in terms of how we view our energy policy going forward. So with the prior administration, we weren't even thinking about building more refineries and increasing capacity, because we can drill, but we've got a process, as you've helped teach our listeners. So we're actually under capacity. When you look at how your industry's thinking about it today, now that we've gotten the new administration and they're moving so quickly to focus on energy, what do you see currently? What's emerging?
Well, I think a lot of what's emerging is alternative fuels. You see a lot of biofuels and a lot of fuels that are coming out of different materials. That's been a big push, but I don't know how profitable it's been. It hadn't taken much market share away from the traditional pieces. I think you're seeing a lot of people really take advantage of low diesel prices right now. Right now it's pretty affordable in that capacity, and I think you're going to see this administration push a lot of tariffs across a lot of entities, but I think the energy sector is going to be one that they know is going to be kind of I wouldn't say a protected one, but we'll have some alternative strategy there where they'll probably have some carve outs. So this administration, traditionally makes it a lot easier to refine and make our products, so our products generally are a little cheaper. And I also think you're going to see some additional investment in assets like mine, like barges, pipelines, maybe even some refinery updates, because they see the headwinds that the other choice for administration was going to present aren't even on the same page as where this administration is. So all the punitive regulation and all the red tape that was the previous administration's policy centerpiece, this administration doesn't have. I think if I could, to be fair and to kind of pass a little bit of criticism around, I think this administration paints the energy sector in this country as very patriotic, that if you're going to drill, baby, drill, that oil will stay here. Not the case. Yeah, we may make the money for pulling the oil out of the ground, but make no mistake, these oil companies their flag is green, not red, white, and blue. And they're going to find a way to make the most money off that material as they can on a global market. So, it will be our oil. Somebody will pay us for it, and we'll probably have a big hand in the process of refining that product. But it's going to the highest bidder, and it's going to the hottest market. So, always keep that in mind that these companies, a lot of them aren't even U.S. based. And so their best interest what interest they have are their best interests almost always.
I've got a lot of questions and things we can talk about as it relates to all of this. But when we come back with Austin Golding from Golding Barge Line, we'll continue this conversation. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. We're visiting with Austin Golding, who is the CEO of Golding Barge Line up in Vicksburg. And he's been a regular on this show. We talk about the Mississippi River, and we talk about what it's like to do business off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And it has a really, really tight relationship, I might add, with Chevron. In fact, I heard from Alan Suddup this morning, Austin, and Alan's going to be on my show soon to come on and just talk about the latest at Chevron. Right. But that's a really important relationship you have, isn't it?
It is. And, I will say, just my comments in the last segment around, kind of who they're allegiant to. Don't let that overshadow the fact that Chevron, and especially the folks there that work with Alan, are great community-minded people within the footprint of Pascagoula and the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But that refinery is massively important to the country and to the region, and it is one that is very well run, very environmentally safe. And yes, we carry a lot of product in and out of that refinery for those guys. And it's a great relationship that we really take a lot of pride in handling a lot of their products. But they are definitely one of the very best stewards and community steward companies that we work with. And they love being there. They love the community. The community's given them a lot. And I think we as Mississippians, and especially in this region, really need to appreciate the impact that refinery has, not only from jobs and people that work there, but the energy that it provides and the kind of price advantage we get to enjoy by it being so close.
We do, actually. I mean, one of the times that we really understood that was right after Hurricane Katrina. We all got a great lesson in the role that the Chevron refinery plays in the entire southeast of America, and it certainly as it related to us. I mean, we were scrambling to get fuel from God knows where, at least specifically at the Sun Herald, when we were running our business in the post-Katrina world. But it's very, very important. One of the things, Alan, that I will discuss with Alan, and I want to get your point of view about as well, is as it relates to refinery capacity. We've had long conversations about this, but do you think what we'll be doing is adding capacity at existing spots existing refineries, and potentially building new refineries? What are you hearing in your edge of the world?
Well, I think, Ricky, what we're going to see is kind of maybe some slight additional investment into these refineries to increase capacity. But you are seeing some refineries that are old, really old. Houston Refining Company, if you have anybody that wants to Google that process out in Houston, they get to the point that it costs too much to maintain these things. And so they go offline. And we're seeing that kind of match some of the, I would say, consumption decline that you have in getting traditional gasoline, not only just because there's other options out there, but we're doing, and like you and I talked about, Ricky, we're doing a really good job of finding our way into more efficient engines that still burn petroleum. And so, you're going to have a process now where I think any of these assets, especially refining assets that exist, are going to have a real premium on who owns them and how they maintain them, and then if they expand any possibility. But no, I don't see any new refineries being built that aren't built now. And I would keep a close eye on older refineries and what they make. And I think some of that market share is going to be split between existing refineries when some of those are too old to maintain. So, a lot of the refining processes have gotten a lot more efficient too. I mean, these companies can turn these finished products out without as much trouble as the old refineries had to use. The last point I'll make is a lot of these refineries along the Gulf Coast are set up to burn very heavy crude, thick crude that comes in from the Middle East or from South America or Africa. And most of the refineries in the mid-continent of the U.S. or upriver in the U.S. are set up to burn light crude, sweet crude, Canadian crude. And so if we start limiting what the source material is to some of those in mid-continent, some of the ones along the Gulf Coast could get busier, but they all don't burn the same style of crude oil. So that's just a note that most people probably weren't aware of.
Well, listen, there used to be this, I think there still is an organization. I know about this organization because I was a featured speaker there for Haley Barber. He invited me to speak to a dinner of this group, and it was the southeastern states and the Canadian provinces together. And what I came to appreciate, like Mississippi's largest trading partner is Canada, and that's true of just about every southeastern state, if not all of them. And it has a lot to do with the oil that's coming in here. So there's a tight trading relationship there. Does the tension between the two countries give you heartburn?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think if you're running a business, especially one that has international supply chain associated with it, you want things to be copacetic and predictable and rateable and things you can count on. I trust that some of this economic reset is going to have some long-term positive impact. I mean, I think we probably have given away a little too much to keep doing business with the people we have because it's comfortable. And maybe we should get a little uncomfortable to see, are we getting a fair shake on this deal or are we not? I would like to see a little more prescriptive approach. I mean, I think we should probably be focused on more sector tariff than just general nationality tariff.
Yeah.
I don't get the nationality motivation more than, we know what products are coming in here. Let's just go after the products that we want made here, not the countries that make them. But what that means for me is steel is very expensive. It costs a lot to repair, maintain my barges and boats now. It costs a hell of a lot to make a boat or a barge now. And so if I want to expand my business or maintain my business, it gets more expensive. Do I have to charge more for my services to maintain my margin? Yes. Do I get any more for the money I'm spending? No. So to me, that's not a great combination when I'm spending more and getting the same, and that cost gets passed on to everybody else. But I do hope that as a result, maybe in 10, 15 years, we have more steel that's made here with Canadian source material, or maybe Canada's paying to send that steel across the border more than they are now, and everybody's happier. But in the short term, very selfishly, I'll take the predictability of a harmonious relationship.
We could do a whole show on it. I think a bit of the confusion of the fentanyl drug tariff thing being sort of melded in with the reciprocal tariffs that will start on April the 2nd created a lot of confusion. But I kind of like the concept of reciprocal tariffs because what we may see, and I think we're already beginning to see some of that, is that you eliminate your tariff, we'll eliminate ours. We're beginning to see a little bit of that. And then after April the 2nd, you'll see a lot more of that. And that's what you hope would happen, that you'd have true free trade without any market encumbrances that are not fair in place at all. I think that will be a good thing.
Sure.
But in the meantime, there's some uncertainty. I do also, Austin, like the idea of, we have to recognize that the factories that we lost here that transferred over to wherever they went aren't the same factories today that they were back then because of advanced manufacturing and technology and all that. But you're going to see jobs, coming home to America. You're going to see new factories popping up. Now, that's not necessarily directly related to your industry, but some of it may be. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to, if we stay focused on it and we don't flinch, we are kind of remaking, the global situation. There's no doubt about it.
We are the economy that everybody wants to do business with, and to do business with us, we should definitely use the leverage that we have to get the best deal for the American people. No question about it. I think that we probably aren't aware of all the motivation that this administration has to try to get people to the table to get other things done. And it starts with money. So let's start here and then see if we can get their attention. So I'm trusting the process. And I think that over time, a state like Mississippi that has a workforce that is very, very committed and very, very skilled. We have a lot of low cost of living to offer here, and a lot of land and a lot of tax incentive. So
Yes.
I hope that some of that transition and some of those things we bring back land in Mississippi. And yeah, I think our state leaders have us well positioned to capture some of that.
Hey, see, Austin, that's exactly this column that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. That's exactly what that column is about. That the coast, you think about quality of life, you think about the ports and interstates and all of that. We're primed. We're in this moment where if we really approach it in a very aggressive and sort of regional way, I think we can grab some of that. We've got to. Listen, our competitors aren't stopping. They are bloodthirsty, and they are very focused, and they're monomaniacs on a mission, and that's who we're competing against. And, Mississippi's been doing pretty darn good when you think about some of the development that we've gotten. Maybe we've just begun.
Well, I think the Gulf Coast, especially as you've seen it trickle our way, starting in the Panhandle post-COVID, coming across Alabama, getting into southern Mississippi now. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to do business, and it's got a lot of character and a lot of charm.
Yeah,
mixed in with the industrial potential. So I think you're exactly right, Ricky. We're really, really proud of what y'all have going on down there.
Yeah, Mobile is tens of thousands of jobs ahead of where they were before Katrina. The Florida Panhandle is literally on fire because I've studied specifically places like Pensacola, et cetera. Places like Savannah, man. I mean, what a story that is. So we can learn from them, but those are our competitors as well, and we've got to step up to the plate. Austin, it's been a really awesome to catch up with you, my friend.
Thank you, Ricky, and I really look forward to coming on next time. And thanks for all you do for Southern Mississippi in general.
You bet, my friend. You bet. This has been Austin Golding from Golding Barge Line. When we come back, we'll have you some health advice. We'll see you after this.